Where we live, there's deer. And if there's one thing deer like, it's fresh vegetables. So, finished building a temporary fence. By temporary, I mean probably 2 to 3 years. But this is the kind of fence that maybe you could build. It's the cheapest way I found to build deer fencing. So as you can see all the way down there is the nice wooden fence that I built. And then we ran out of wood. And so the deer are getting in and eating our vegetables. So this is Stucco wire. And what I've done is I ordered 10-foot long rebar pieces, and they go 2 feet in the ground, and I use the hooks on the top to grab the wire. So Stucco wire only comes in 48 or 54 inches high. So in order to make this high enough that I know the deer won't get in, I'd have to double it up. And so that's what I did along this way. So this is like 200 feet. This is my neighbors over here. And it's going all the way to the back of the property. And it's not exactly straight. It's hard to try and get the rebar in straight because of what's in the ground. So sometimes it will lean. If it bothers me that much, I might take some rebar wire and then tie it to one of these trees to try and bring the fence back. But at this point, I don't see much point. Most of the deer were actually coming in the back of the property here, and I'll show you what I did there. So at the top of each piece of rebar, what I did was I went and found this hardware at our hardware store. Included one nut, and then used tie wire, rebar wire, to do the top. And then that manages, because of the way this is ribbed, it manages to keep it at the top, and it's able to hold the Stucco wire. And then on top of that, then I added a couple more pieces to make sure that it stays in place. The deer here aren't super aggressive, so they'll just like meander along the whole fence before they do anything. And so, but this piece of hardware, you need it. You need something that hooks it at the top and holds it up to some degree. The good news also about this is that because it is not solid like a fence, the wind barely catches this, so you don't have to worry about this being horribly structural. The worst is if someone tried to climb this, the rebar would bend and the Stucco wire would get messed up. So at the back of the property here, we already had some existing fencing of various post sizes. All I did was use like dunnage and like some scrap pieces around to screw into that and then make the height difference. This is where most of the deer were coming from. They can't really jump the difference. We've had 0 deer since we built this stuff. So all I did was cripple on a piece of wood, and then what I use to stick it on is I use a battery powered crown stapler, and I have built many of these, and I will say that these hold. They're galvanized, they won't rust. This is all galvanized, so you don't have to worry about this rusting. They hold, they will hold, and because they're cheap as chips, you just put 1,000 in and it will hold. I recommend not putting 1,000 in case you ever need to do repairs or something. So that's how I did this Stucco fence. This stuff, the Stucco wire, is about $1 something a foot. So why Stucco wire? I've looked at like rancher wire and stuff that's meant to keep like bulls and large livestock out, and that's not what I'm trying to keep out. I'm trying to keep out deer, rather small deer. We have no moose or elk around here, so I don't have to worry about that either. So I've used this stuff for goats, and it can hold up to goats. And I think goats are pretty aggressive on everything. So this stuff winds up being $1.25 a foot, but then you need to double that because you're only doing your one height. You're 48 inches to 54 inches. So but winds up being about $2 a foot. And I just couldn't find anything cheaper than that. Also somewhat like aesthetically okay. I know the other one that you saw with the rebar wire, with the rebar, kind of looks like the Walking Dead keeping out zombies thing. And it's not my favorite, but it's the back part of the property. People aren't going to see it. It's going to keep the deer out, which is the main part. And now we can start growing without having to worry. Eventually everything's going to be in greenhouses. So we don't have to worry at that point once everything's in greenhouses. Not everything will be though. So we're still always going to need the whole property fenced. So that is the temporary solution. And now we can start growing.